and he can get sadistic like to Obi-Wan when he won't join him, and he is even very obsessive about defeating Yoda, and he's also sometimes dishonest. So to sum this up, he isn't bland, but a really deep villain. So Qui-Gon wasn't a bland in the first film, nor were Padme or Anakin, or in this film. Windu is a great supporting character, and he and Obi-Wan are both very well developed, and Dooku is a great additional villain. Also, Matthew calls Palpatine bland in his Star Wars The Clone Wars review. What? He was already the villain in Jedi and has the same personality here. We see, in fact, more of his personality in the first prequel. We see that he is really dishonest, using the Separatists for his own ends, and spiteful about democracy, and very manipulative, presenting himself as a hero. And we see that he is great at acting very complimentary, and also at acting concerned. Well, he's actually very cold, not caring about the people involved in his schemes, and he is very self-confident, knowing his schemes will work. And in Episode 2, this film, we see he is great at telling people what they want to hear, and he can see the darker sides in people and use those to his advantage, as he is very secretively pro-war. How is he bland here? We, like in Jedi, see him being authoric, harsh, determined, arrogant. How is he bland? Then we have two of the most hated elements of the prequels, Anakin Skywalker and his romance with Padme. All three, CM, Implinkett, and Distress Watcher, criticize these heavily, and all three with that proved themselves inconsistent, hard, cruel, cold, and mean. Sorry, Matthew, love your reviews, but your assessment of Anakin was awful. All three do the following. Ignore many of the great heroic things Anakin does. 2. Criticize him for standing up for himself and being justifiably mad. And 3. All three act like basic anger and argument many film characters have are all of a sudden a sin where he has it. Matthew says he doesn't mind characters having flaws, but needs a balance. Well, Anakin has that balance, and he has it similar to many characters you love. So let's get into Matthew says. He doesn't listen to anyone, he is not very nice, and he treats everyone around him like shit, and only cares about himself. Well, let's start with the only cares about himself, and let's analyze if he is only unlikable. Anakin does many heroic and nice things throughout these films. See, let's start with the heroic also with I will prove Anakin does care about others. Also, my thoughts on him is Anakin is my favorite hero. I thought his friendship with Obi-Wan was great, and he and Padme are my favorite couple, which is because of balance in his character and his relationship with Anakin and Padme. He, 1, serves as Padme's bodyguard in that duty kills the killer bugs who are trying to kill her, saving her life. And he does this, he makes clear because he wants her to be safe. Funny how you said he only cared about himself, yet he cares about Padme. 2. He then flies a speeder, saving Obi-Wan, who was falling. People argue Obi-Wan could have landed himself like Anakin, but Anakin is supposed to be stronger. And guess what? When he didn't need Anakin to fly under him and fly downwards to allow the fall to have an impact, so he saves Obi-Wan as well. The same way someone like Han Solo saves Luke and Leia. 3. He then proceeds to endanger himself by lighting flames in many ships to chase after an assassin because he wants to help Padme, not himself, Padme. He also then jumps very far to catch her, cuts open the cockpit, and crashes the shop, allowing him and Obi-Wan to chase the assassin into a bar. 4. He goes to Tatooine, disobeying orders to save his mom, and makes his way into a dangerous camp to rescue her, showing he cares for his mom. This makes already 3 people he cares for. 5. He goes to Geonosis and fights multiple Geonosians with spears and laser cannons and fights through an assembly line to rescue Obi-Wan, which shows he cares for Obi-Wan and Padme, who asked him to do this. 6. He uses a monster he tames to kill the tiger which attacks Padme, showing again he cared for her. 7. Then has Obi-Wan hop on to help him escape. 8. He fights in the arena destroying multiple separatist droids and protects Padme from laser fire because he cares for the Republic. 9. Gives the clones the order of aiming in fuel cells of a ship, allowing it to be destroyed easily and destroying many battle droids because he cares for the Republic. 10. He then endangers himself by participating in a chase against Dooku again because he cares for society and the Jedi. 11. He fights Dooku, protecting Obi-Wan after he fights him again when he wakes up because he cares for both Obi-Wan and the Republic. Now let's get to the nice personal things he did. 1. He says Padme has grown more beautiful when he meets her, so he gives her a nice compliment. 2. He shows to Obi-Wan he is concerned about his mother. 3. He defends Palpatine, who he cares for when Obi-Wan accuses him. 4. He shows Palpatine's great respect, thanking him for his guidance. 5. He listens to Padme and gives her advice about being angry at her mentor. 6. He calms her down when she is nervous of going alone. 7. Then he is in the ship, says Padme is like she is in his dreams, so that he dreams of her. 8. Then he listens to her stories about her political life. 9. He compliments her by saying the Republic needs her and that he is glad that she chose to stay. 10. Then on the balcony, he talks with her about how he hates roughness and loves beauty. 11. Then he rolls around with her in the field and is very gentle, nicely rolling around. 12. Then he has a talk with her about how he fought and is a Jedi and amuses her with a Force trick. 13. Then on Tatooine, he comforts Padme when he is leaving. 14. He tells his mother he hid with her and 14. He loves his mother. There. 15. Then he holds a heartfelt burial speech. So that is it. So he had 29 nice and heroic actions. So claiming he only cares about himself and isn't nice and doesn't do anything good is wrong. Then we have the complaints he bitches everyone out and doesn't listen to anyone. Let's analyze about how many scenes people complain where Anakin shows whiny behavior. 1. In the elevator. 2. With Obi-Wan discussing Padme's protection. 3. When he arrogantly gloats about his abilities in the speeder. 4. Next to the diner. 5. When he talks to Padme. 6. When he argues with her next to the Queen. 7. In the field. 8. In the Sand People's camp. 9. In the control room by Padme. 10. Then we have him yell at the assassin. So this is 26 positive scenes and 10 negative ones. So one can't say he didn't have enough good scenes compared to his bad ones. So how does Anakin's character misbalance? But now let's analyze the complaints about these negative things. Putting aside the killing Sand People and the confession about it, and the political discussion and the yelling at the assassin, all these scenes simply involve Anakin arguing with or complaining about something and him gloating over his abilities. Well, guess what? He isn't being sadistic or cruel in those scenes. He isn't being purely selfish except for the gloating scenes. He doesn't hate on them to hurt them or act mean. He is simply whiny or obnoxious. Guess what? That isn't being an asshole or shit infused with piss or already on the dark side. He simply acts annoyed. This is very forgivable, especially since often is justified. So let's analyze those scenes in the elevator. He simply annoyingly reminds Obi-Wan that he was the one in peril and that Anakin was to rescue him. That isn't to hurt him, or because he always wants praise, but because he is annoyed by Obi-Wan not acknowledging this. This is justified. If he saves Obi-Wan's life, Obi-Wan shouldn't remember that. It is a tad bit aggressive of him to then react with an annoyed voice, but that is if he is a little too aggressive, so he's not perfect. In the next scene, he thinks Jedi shouldn't do security, but investigate that is an art of their mission. Again, he doesn't want to be mean. He is simply annoyed that it isn't evil. Yes, he is annoyed. He has an argument. Doesn't everyone sometimes have an argument with someone? How is that so evil? He isn't bitching everyone out and being mean to them. He just argues, and then everyone has that sometimes because everyone can have disagreements. And isn't evil. So Anakin isn't very bitchy, just aggressive, and again, it is partially justified. Padme has the right that people investigate her assassination. She deserves freedom and safety, and that is the best way to protect her, and Jedi are above locust security, aren't they? So Anakin is whiny, which is justified. So he is only over-aggressive, which is not totally justified, but understandable. Obi-Wan constantly criticizes him and doesn't acknowledge all the kind acts, and also constantly acts like he knows everything better. As a master, he should be more supportive, and he should also allow Anakin to make decisions. So Anakin feels mistreated, and that causes him to be aggressive. He should try to be nicer about it, but since Obi-Wan isn't, this is just a very human flaw. So how does this make Anakin an asshole? And you complain he doesn't listen to anyone, and he has the right to have his own opinions, and is almost grown up and skilled, so that isn't wrong. Also, Anakin was also nice in the elevator, showing he cared for Padme, and he argued with Obi-Wan because he wanted to be nice to her, so there are forgivable traits. Also, how is this any different from Luke or Han in the original trilogy? Luke's first scene, he complains that he wanted to do something else and acts annoyed also. He also argues angrily with Owen and their travel. I told Sam this on his channel, and he said there was a difference between being a tad bit rebellious and antagonistic to everyone in your life. Well, Luke was also acting angry and annoyed, and Anakin wasn't being hateful to everyone in his life. He didn't hate on his mom, the Lars family, 3PO, and R2, and rarely on Padme. And he wasn't hating Obi-Wan in that he resented entirely who he was. He was simply angry at what he did. He still cared for him. So both are just annoyed and angry, and just as Luke, these are understandable traits which give him vulnerability to evil, but aren't evil. And just with Luke, he mostly hid heroic, so how is it so different? Also, then we have him talking about how he would rival Master Yoda. Well, some youthful arrogance that isn't mean, cruel, or wrong. Then we have him respond to difficulty to Obi-Wan's lessons, but he tries to be nice, uses polite words, and makes it clear Obi-Wan and not just saying yes is justified when someone acts so critical, so they are justified and intertwined with friendship. Then we have what he yells at the assassin. Yeah, that is positive anger. She tried to kill someone. Anakin loves it, just so he cares for others. Then we have him complain to Padme about Obi-Wan. Well, that is just sharing troubles. He isn't being mean. Also shows he is grateful to Obi-Wan and simply doesn't like not being allowed the traits when he is younger than his master, which means if Obi-Wan is ready, he is. So that is justified, and he is also caring and selfless and sometimes wise. So yeah. Also, this is no difference from Luke complaining about Owen to C-3PO. So far, Anakin has had 4 whining scenes about his mentor, where Luke had 3, so only 1 more, and for the rest was a bit arrogant and angry and an evil assassin. So really he has shown only 2 more flaws. Then we have him bickering with Padme, acting annoyed, but really she marginalized his position at her bodyguard, so she was being mean. He simply stood up for himself, and that is completely justified. So you have no right to complain about being criticized by your mentor you save, nor to stand up against an unfair treatment of your loved one, nor be annoyed when someone is marginalizing your right to take part in the decision-making process you are supposed to be in charge of. Not to be angry at an assassin who tried to murder someone. So you want Anakin to act like Jesus, except for not even asking if he please doesn't have to make the sacrifice. It is no different from Luke complaining to Han they have to save Leia. And later he has only 1 scene he acts annoyed about her, and guess what? Luke also in the docking bay again acts annoyed towards Han, so how is this different again? So far Luke has had only 2 less scenes which are negative. So putting aside the political scenes and the Sioux Sam people scenes, Anakin has only 2 more negative scenes than Luke in all, of which except for 2 it is justified, and the other 2 it is understandable. So Anakin isn't mean, cruel, aggressive, selfish, or evil. He simply is a bit too aggressive and a bit too arrogant, which make him vulnerable to evil, but aren't evil, which are understandable and forgivable. And as Luke, he has many good things which make him a nice hero. Also, let's emphasize the amount of nice scenes Luke had while talking with Beru, talking with R2, helping find, talking and offering help Obi-Wan, trying to rescue his aunt and uncle, looking for a ride, and most Eisley, defending the ship, participating in taking out workers, taking a room, helping free Leia, rescuing her from the stormtroopers, shooting troopers, and jumping out of fighting more troopers, fighting fighters, caring for Obi-Wan's death, fighting TIE fighters again, having a nice talk with Biggs, taking out towers and blowing up the Death Star. That is 21 nice scenes. Also, don't forget he called Han's ship a piece of junk and complains he didn't believe in the Force. Well, that gives him 21 positive scenes and 7 negative ones. So he has only 3 less negative scenes and also has 5 less positive ones. So really, Anakin is a nice hero and equal to Luke. And also, how can Terminator 2 be one of your favorite films when you hate Anakin? John acted disrespectful in a blatant manner to his foster parents. He stole money, then bitched about his mom. Then had the Terminator beat people up, so he was a thief and abusive. Then started swearing next to the Terminator, and he calls his step-parents dicks. So that there were only 6 scenes, but with long, blatantly acting mean, abusing people, swearing, and insulting people. So John is an interesting character, but Anakin is an asshole? All these characters did mean things, but because they're understandable, we forgive them because of their pain.